So now we're going to go over some of the details that have been placed out in text form for us over the last day. A few blogs, a few sites that are detailing information regarding Madden 16. And the first video is by EA, their official blog for NFL 16 gameplay, Air Supremacy. As you can see, the wide receiver defensive back interaction in the picture, Orlando Scandrick is basically interacting with Odell Beckham. They're each kind of got their hands on each other, I assume, within the first 5 yards. So the feature is Air Supremacy, and we're going to go over it. It was written by the creative director, Rex Dixon, which essentially is the guy that created the game. So at the top of the list was wide receiver defensive back interaction, which has been blown out into a collection of features called Air Supremacy. Air Supremacy revolutionizes passing and catching on both sides of the ball, with new user and AI mechanics. There's also a new multiplayer catch interaction system, which they mean by multiplayer meaning different players on the field, with more than 400 new two-player catch animations with a variety of outcomes. So they still are canned animations, but you've got 400 different outcomes. So the first one is the new handoff system. So Air Supremacy starts with the quarterback. We started from the snap with an all-new handoff system that includes a large variety of new content and much tighter timing between handoff and blocking. Each play type has uniquely captured handoff specifically designed for the given play, resulting in hundreds of animations. And this system also includes a new fake handoff for the play action game, which ties in perfectly for the shot plays. And they're going to talk about more on that later. So the new hands-off system isn't really something I can really get into here with too much detail. But as you can see, we can take a look at a little screenshot there, and we'll go back down to quarterback locomotion. So the team completely reworked QB pocket, scramble, and rollout locomotion. Simply tap the R2 or RT button in the QB's dropback or when standing on the pocket, and this allows players to roll to pass and includes a completely reworked back shoulder rollout. These new mechanics work brilliantly with our boot and rollout plays. So just reading that right off the bat, I mean, for me, rolling out is already an issue in the game. For a lot of sim players that really like the game to be realistic, we all know that rolling out in Madden has been far too effective for years and years and years, especially with the amount of quarterbacks that can make a lot of the throws. It's one of the reasons why everybody will use the Seattle Seahawks, and if not, they're just going to find a team with a mobile quarterback. That's why plays like PA end around, etc., are so easy to accomplish because of the ability to roll out. So far, not really liking that, especially if you're going to have the ability to roll out a little bit easier. So let's read on. One of the biggest benefits of rollout is that players don't suffer the same accuracy penalties as throw on the run. So that's kind of interesting. The team also reworked scramble, so hold R2 to be more responsive and allows players to toggle between pocket, rollout, or scramble loco at the touch of a button. And by loco, they mean locomotion, the animation or the kind of smooth little feature that you feel in the game. Now you can also branch out of any dropback instantly by tapping the LT button after the snap. Now that's a big one because in the competitive Madden community, every year you're always looking for that little glitch that's going to allow you to cancel the dropback right away. I think it was in Madden 10 when they first introduced when basically your quarterback would drop back into an animation. So you couldn't really roll out right away. And for a lot of high-level players, that was definitely an issue because, as I said, high-level players in tournaments and stuff like that, or any type of glitchy stuff that goes on in the game, people want to be able to have control of their player right away, roll out, take advantage of the AI. So some of you are probably going to hate that because essentially what they're doing is now we don't have the lab to find out what that automatic cancel of the dropback is. It's just going to be built into the game. So take it as you may. You may love it because you like to take advantage of that, and that's one of the things you look for, or you may hate it because you're a sim player and you don't want that to be the case. Now, finally, we made it a priority to ensure that all new QB local mechanics are utilized by the CPU AI. Expect QBs like Marcus Mariota and Cam Newton to offer a substantial threat on the ground this year. So Utilized by the all the new mechanics are utilized by the CPU AI. Okay, so I think what they're just saying is they're actually going to do it if you play against a computer. So if you're the type of person that you play by yourself in your own little league or something like that, you just play a 16-game season every year, you're going to face quarterbacks that are going to actually do those things. That's what I think it means. Now, they're showing a screenshot here of Andrew Luck. Nothing too fancy. We don't really care about that. I like a good-looking game, but I don't really care about graphics each and every year. The game looks good enough, in my opinion. We don't need to worry about that. We need to worry about gameplay. So now, the quarterback AI. So for many players, the most requested change for Madden NFL 16 was an overhaul to the CPU QB AI, which goes back to what we just talked about here in the last thing with the rollouts and stuff like that. So the CPU QB AI will take advantage of some of these rollouts, and of course, as a user, you can as well. Now, we spent several years developing a new AI architecture called Behavior Coordinator, which allows us to create a more granular set of behaviors to a given situation. This not only helps deliver the most challenging CPU QBs to date, but also creates a clear distinction between different play types of QBs. Now, the game you get from Tom Brady, which is a pocket passer, is dramatically different than the behavior you'll see from dual threats like a Mariota or Newton. Each style of QB will now react to situations differently based on their traits. This new QB AI also represents improvements to Robo QB, dink and dunk offense, pressure awareness, play calling, and situational game management. So this quarterback AI is essentially for you sim players that like to play your offline franchise or just games against the computer at any time. For me, this isn't anything I need to worry about. I don't really care about this. I don't like to play against computer. But for you guys, I'm sure that's really, really good news. I can't speak much on that because I don't know too much about it. Now here's the screenshot that is death-defying probably to a lot of people after hitches and smoke screens with the pass lead down where only the wide receiver can get it. So let's take a look here. So they're going to look at passing mechanics now. So one of the big additions in Madden NFL 16 is the body relative throw, which allows the player to throw a high jump ball, like on a fade or a streak route, or a low throw where only the receiver can make a play on the ball. We have also reworked the new touch pass, so now double tap the receiver icon, for easier execution of dropping the ball behind linebackers and in front of safeties. So, you know, they talked a little bit about that in probably Madden 13, the pass leading and stuff like that. I will say that it probably does sound a little bit different, probably is a little bit different. I can imagine what happened is in Madden 13, they liked the idea of the pass leading and everything like that, but it became too over effective. So they took it out for Madden 15 and really made it so that you almost couldn't pass lead. I mean, you could, definitely certain routes, but Madden 13 was a little glitchy in that aspect. So they took it out for a year, and it sounds like, you know, they worked on it and made it what they visioned it to be. And hopefully that's going to be what's going to relate to the game this year. So we're just going to have to find out about that, but I imagine that was probably their thought process. So now, the catching mechanic. So the most revolutionary addition this year is the new catching system. Previously, players had just one option, Y, to catch the ball. Now, in Madden NFL 16, there are 3 different catching types to choose from. The mechanics work by holding the catch button, and here's a key part, as soon as the quarterback makes the pass. You no longer need to hit B, as catch control is now automatic on the intended receiver. However, it is still possible, tank, to have more control by clicking on with B and steering the receiver with the left stick. So let's take a look here real quickly. I know you're in suspense. You want to see this whole screenshot. Now, I'm going to say a couple things about this. The first one is that this whole bullet pass and the X button appearing on screen, I just know based on, I guess, common sense, that's not in-game. They put that there to display it in a screenshot. You can just tell that this is basically photoshopped into the game. You will not see that in-game. Okay, I will put money on that. If anyone wants to bet, just let me know. As long as I trust you, you're not going to see that in a game. I can pretty much guarantee you that. The second thing I want to talk about here, while we just go back up, is The mechanics work by holding the catch button as soon as the quarterback makes the pass. So here's where there's a little bit of a discrepancy with some of the people that were raging on Twitter and so on and so forth regarding spec catches after a year that we just had with all the face catching and all that stuff. They essentially just basically took the worst part about Madden 15 and heightened it to a whole new level for everybody to use, okay, which I can understand. But what happens here is I think they're going to make you choose what it is that you want to do. So if you want to user catch and do whatever it is that you want to do, who knows if face catching is still going to be in the game if you choose to click on and manually, swerve the inside, the wide receiver inside or outside or whatever it is you need to do to make a catch. They're essentially going to make you choose. Are you going to be that type of player that clicks on and does it yourself? Or are you going to be the type of person that presses that button right away? Like if you're not pressing it right after the quarterback makes the pass, my interpretation of this is that you're not going to get that animation. If you don't press it, you will not get the new catching mechanic thing. If you wait, it's just not going to register. So in my opinion, you're going to have a choice. Now, this will kind of even things up as far as skill level goes. I am very aware of that, so that could be an issue because, maybe clicking on is still the better idea, right? Maybe it's still the more effective way, clicking on, user catching the way we've always done. That could still be the most effective way, but maybe just a little bit under that, they're allowing players that really don't have the skill to click on and make those catches, giving them essentially an option to be able to compete. Again, we haven't played the game. We don't know. We're just reading these things, so it's hard to really judge. We can't go crazy. We can't have all these thoughts and ideas and stuff about how terrible the game is going to be before we play it. Does Madden have a history of maybe having some bad things in games? Yeah, sure. Madden 25 was really bad. I know a lot of people I love every Madden. And when I say a game is bad, in my opinion, I just mean a little bit worse than some of the rest, right? Okay, so I'm not going to say the game was terrible. I loved it. It was fun. But when you compare it, it was pretty bad in comparison to the other games. I know a lot of people feel like Madden 15 is the worst. I don't. I like it. Madden 11, to me, had a lot of really good things. You could really make plays on the defensive side of the ball. I loved how you can make plays. You could essentially strafe pick, click on or just user a guy and you could strafe and your defender would jump right up in the air. Defenders reacted really well, but I hated the fact that you could be in gun snugs all game, run plays like mesh, halfback draw, and just have success because those things were so hard to stop. Like drags were just ridiculous that year. So every year, there's definitely some situations, but Madden 13 was pretty solid. And the pass leading essentially kind of ruined the game. Without pass leading, Madden 13 might have been one of the better Maddens ever made, but unfortunately, pass leading was kind of eh. Madden 12, looking at it, great game. Great. Madden 12 had defense, it had offense, it really had a good mixture. Madden 10 to me was the best. 09 was terrible. 08 was really good. So, it's gonna depend. We need to play these games. You know what I mean? Like, I know EA has a history. Everyone thinks that the game sucked for 5 years now. But you gotta play. You can't, I know they have a history, but you can't just be like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over. Play it, then come to that conclusion, okay? Then call it trash if you don't like it. You got to play it first. Sorry, I spent a little bit time on that one. So here's a breakdown of each of the new catches. So the risk and rewards and situational applications. So the first one is a rack catch. So a rack catch, which is run after catch, is a catch where the receiver turns upfield during the catch with the intent to gain yards. Rack catches drive the receiver upfield to catch the ball in stride. Essentially, that's the Jerry Rice thing. That was the thing that Jerry Rice was so good at, was yards after the catch. The whole thing that Montana and Rice were so great at was Montana would deliver the ball in such a way that Rice could continue after the catch. That's what Odell Beckham is so good at. Players perform the rack catch by holding X or square once the pass is released. Racks have a higher drop and knockout chance and are susceptible to interceptions when the pass is thrown into traffic. So each time you make a pass, you're going to have to make a decision on what it is that you want to do. So this is just a regular screenshot. Doesn't really show us much. We shouldn't really care too much about that. Now, racks are primarily used when a receiver is open in space or has several steps on a defensive back with a vertical route. So as you can see right here, there is no defender behind him, even though it might look like that with a little bit of the blackness there. He actually is wide open, so you can do a rack catch right there. But if the defender is about to lay a hit on you, what they're saying is if you choose rack catch right at that point instead of aggressive like you see, then the defender can come and hit you, and you're not really going to be able to make that catch. So I'm sure everyone's going to have their own style. Everyone's probably going to make a decision for the most part on, what their main catch is going to be, or at least two of the three. I wouldn't imagine that people are going to utilize all three, but we'll have to see. So number 2 is the aggressive catch. Now the aggressive catch, or high point catch, drives the receiver back to the ball to go up and catch it at the highest point possible. They can be used to fight back to the ball and challenge a defensive back going for an interception. Players perform aggressive catches by holding the triangle button once the pass is thrown. Aggressive catches are best utilized in combination with the high throw mechanic. Now the high throw mechanic, this is where it becomes a little interesting, and this is what scares me a little bit. When I played Madden back in the day, like in Madden 08 and like 07, 06, whatever, I don't think I ever threw a pass that wasn't a high bullet. And the reason for that was because of the animations that you could get. They were so much better. It's like on post routes and no matter what. Like, I mean, obviously, I guess I wouldn't throw a high bullet to a drag, or I wouldn't throw a high bullet to a slant. I would just throw the button. But any other type of route, that went over the middle, in any way whatsoever, I would always throw a high bullet. So like that quick pass in the PA end around, for example, I would always throw a high bullet. Corner routes by tight ends, post routes by tight ends, always throw a high bullet. So if you're going to throw a high bullet and then press aggressive catch right away on routes like that, that is what scares me. Quick passing. Now, with that said, okay, I love quick passing. So the idea of being able to throw a quick pass with a high bullet and press aggressive catch on certain routes when I'm labbing up offenses and stuff like that, I like it, but I can see where it can be too over effective potentially. It's all going to come down to how defensive backs play, how a defender plays. When you click on, can you press that button quick and like either play the ball, go for the pick, or lay big hits, or try to get your hand in like you see Peterson do right here and maybe get the ball out? This is what it all comes down to. All this stuff that we're seeing about offense and aggressive catch, possession catch, rack catch, whatever it is, it's all going to come down to defense. And that's it. So if the defenders have the same ability, so if it's like a 50-50 chance based on button combinations, like it's going to be something like rock, paper, scissors in a sense. I know this is a weird analogy, but it's going to be you have 3 options: rock, paper, scissors. So if he presses aggressive, what's the button that you want to press? If he presses rack, what's the button that you want to press? If he presses conservative, what's the button that you want to, So you're essentially playing rock, paper, scissors on every single down, every single throw. So that's my take on it, and we'll just have to see. So good little screenshot there. Nothing different from Madden 15, let's be honest. Now, aggressive catches have lower catch chances and higher knockout chances, but can be a formidable weapon when thrown to an elite high point wide receiver like Des Bryant or Calvin Johnson. So again, you see these things here on screen. They're not going to come up on your screen. I could just bet a lot of money on that. There's just no way. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I apologize. I didn't realize here that you guys couldn't see it. So aggressive catches have a lower catch chance and higher knockout chance, but can be a formidable weapon when thrown to an elite high point receiver like Des Bryant or Calvin Johnson. So again, the game looks identical. These screenshots are a little mushed because they're not in their full resolution, but as you can see, the game is essentially identical. Let's make sure I don't override this one. So possession catch. So the possession catch is where the receiver protects the ball with his body and secures the catch at the expense of looking to gain yards after the catch. Possession catches are best utilized in traffic and can also be used to force receivers to perform get the feet down catches near the sideline or the back of the end zone. So again, essentially like a rock, paper, scissors type deal going on there. So the possession catch is, obviously it's a more sim thing or whatever. We're going to have to see how effective these are, right? I mean, we all know the way that Madden codes the game each year. We're going to have to get in there. We're going to have to lab. We're going to have to figure out what the best option is. Maybe aggressive catch, right? Maybe it's the only button you're ever going to press, right? Because maybe there's really not that difference. Like if you press possession, but then just because the way the game's coded, you're still dropping balls and stuff like that at the same rate of an aggressive catch, then there would be no point to ever use it, right? Let's be honest, right? You're just always going to go for aggressive. We're going to have to see how these things get played out. I would imagine that at the beginning, okay, I know they have game testers and stuff like that. I would imagine at the beginning it's going to be a little out of whack. Aggressive is probably going to be, the thing. But then once the masses get their hands on the ball, and I know EA doesn't do a lot of patching, but once the masses get their hands on the game, they're going to tone it down. That would be my guess. They've got like a slider, within their coding, and they're just gonna lower the percentage of that being effective. That's how I see it playing out. So you can perform a possession catch by holding the A or X button once the pass is thrown. They're most effective with the low throw mechanic, and when thrown to the slot or possession trait receivers. So traits are playing a big role. Now, if you guys follow Zan on his channel, Forward Progress Madden, he talked a lot about traits this year for face catching and a lot of the one-on-one throws that you see downfield. He talked about traits playing a big role into that. So traits are definitely going to play a role here on these possession catches. If you don't have a possession receiver, right, and you're catching the ball with the possession button, the chances are you're just going to drop it more often, right? So you're going to have to take all these things into account. So you're going to have to really know your team in and out if you're going to use these things. Again, this is just all comments based on how I think things are going to play out, or at least the way EA thinks that they'll play out. Once the masses get their hands on the game, everything changes. They've got game testers and things like that, which is great, but it's not millions of people like what we see. So that's going to be really, the big tail test. So they come at the expense of rack yards, as receivers frequently go down immediately after the catch. So again, that's kind of a penalty. What's the penalty of an aggressive catch? It's a drop. The penalty of a possession catch is that you're not going to get any yards after it. So a lot of times in Madden, right, you can break catches for big yards, especially with broken tackles and stuff like that. So right there, I don't know if I see possession really being something that you want to do a lot, right? I mean, it's going to depend. You want big plays, right? That's what Madden's about. You want big plays. So I could see this being a 3rd and 4th down thing. I can't see it being a 1st and 2nd down thing. Okay. So now, wide receiver AI traits. So each wide receiver has a new series of traits that determine which type of catches they look for when under AI control. This includes the rack, aggressive, and possession traits. Throwing the right route to the right receiver and using catch mechanics linked to traits is a critical strategic component of Madden NFL 16. So again, you will need to know your team in and out. This is perfect for guys in CFM. You can purchase traits and things like that. So that's really awesome. I don't even think, so this is where it gets tricky, right? It's a Madden Ultimate Team world now. Now, as far as I know, for, let's say, a Walter Payton gets put into the game, okay, and he's got all these different cards, they don't even have traits. You can't even see a list of traits. So for you MUT players, it's going to be real tricky for you guys to figure out what you're going to have to, you're updating cards all the time. That's going to be an interesting situation because once you get used to a player, right? Let's say you get an 85 overall Calvin, and you realize, oh man, possession, he's not really getting the job done. I like to do possession, but he can't get it done, or whatever the case may be, right? And then you upgrade your card. Well, does he have a different trait now? Did they introduce this into the new Madden 16 traits for Madden Ultimate Team? Don't know. Don't know. But if they're talking about traits, so this is what I never liked about Madden Ultimate Team. I mean, that's a whole other video for another time. But they say that traits play a big role in Madden 15 as far as how players play, and they're talking about it again. And Madden Ultimate Team is their biggest mode, and they don't even have traits. So how does that make any sense, right? That's why you see a lot of crazy stuff happen in Madden Ultimate Team, because the mode's just out of whack. But again, that is another video for another time. We won't get into that now. Okay, so now the multiplayer catch system. So the multiplayer catch system is based on technology in development for more than 2 years. Okay, so that's good. So they've been working on it. Didn't put them in the game or anything like that. And been working on it for 2 years. And a lot of people have been asking Madden to really not even make a game every single year. They want them to take a 2-year cycle, or even just take 1 year off. So the fact that they've been working on something for 2 years is a good thing, probably in a lot of people's minds, and allows receivers and defenders to go up for a catch simultaneously and battle for the ball in the air while using ratings, mechanics, and positioning to deliver the appropriate outcome. The team added more than 400 new multiplayer catch outcomes, which includes knockouts, tip ball, simultaneous possession catches, offensive and defensive pass interference, interceptions, and more. The system also accounts for double coverage situations. We have spent countless hours tuning and balancing the system extensively to ensure players cannot exploit the system. So that is very interesting. You rarely hear EA talk about things like that, so that players cannot exploit the system. Now, will this work? Who knows, right? I mean, again, you got to get your hands on the thing, you got to play. They say that, but for all we know, we can get in the game and it's just the same thing over and over. Too easy, too easy, too easy, too easy, right? Everything's too easy in Madden. But just the fact that they're referring to it and acknowledging it is at least something, right? It's something to think about before the game comes out. It's something to think, oh, well, maybe, you know, maybe for once they're finally thinking about the people that exploit the system. I said recently on Twitter that, you know, there's a lot of guys, competitive players that are really good at the game, that they play a lot different than a lot of sim players. Like, if you were watching this and you're a sim player, it's a different mindset, right? And so my whole thought process on that, and the reason I don't complain about the game, is because when the game comes out, my goal essentially, okay, I mean, not literally, but essentially, is to break the game. Find exploits, find things that work. You know, if nobody tried to find PA end around, or nobody tried to face catch in practice mode all the time, if nobody tried to break the game and find all these blitzes and nanos and stuff, the game would be really good, right? If people just, you know, picked up the controller and threw the ball and didn't click on and just played normal, didn't set up blitzes and stuff, the game would be great. So if you're the type of person where your goal when the game comes out is to try to break the game, you have absolutely no right. And this is why I try not to, I mean, I complain sometimes, right? I mean, I don't like the drop picks. That's a whole other story. But there's things I complain about. I mean, it's not perfect. I don't just go around and say how great the game is regardless all the time, 100%. But if you try to break the game, you don't really have a right to talk about how terrible the game is. You just don't. I mean, your goal is to break it. I mean, that's what you're trying to do to it. So EA is defenseless. There's nothing that you, like, what are they going to do? I mean, you're taking something and you're trying to break it. How can you blame them? Right? You can't. So, you know. So I like to see that they're talking about exploits in the system. I have a little bit of a battle. I mean, I want sim players to be able to enjoy their thing, even though I struggle with the sim player mindset. I don't like it. I like no rules. I like to be able to do whatever I want. I do want to break the game, essentially. I want to be able to lab stuff and stuff like that. But at the same time, you know, I wish that stuff was maybe a little more minimal, where maybe they patched things a little more often, worried about some of the exploits. It would make the game a lot better, especially if it would make labbing so much better. So that's why I want them to patch some of these things, right? So the first 2 months, okay, we lab and we lab hard and we find this stuff, but then we use this stuff over and over and over and over. I'd love to see them patch things so then we got to start from scratch and lab hard again. What happens is things get too easy, right? You find a 3-4 even, you find a face catch, you find a PA end round, you find a pistol bunch tight end, and you just stick with it because you know that it works. If they patched some of these things and took them out of the game, made them less effective, we'd have to start over, and it makes labbing so much more fun. So much more fun. So now we will go on to additional wide receiver and defensive back interactions. And what I'm going to do here is I'll just give a picture of this screenshot here real quick so you guys can take a look at that. So the team also added hundreds of new receiver and defender interaction animations, including new press interactions, zone chuck interactions, and hand fighting during route running. A lot of people have been asking this for a long, long time. This includes a complete overhaul to our defensive pre-play alignment system, as defenders now align to the inside or outside of the receiver based on the coverage and where they want to force them. So just taking that into consideration, okay? Let's say that you come out in a strong close, okay? Strong close is one of the best formations year in and year out, okay? So no matter what, whether it's cover 3, man coverage, anything like that, okay, the defense is always going to play to the outside every single time, no matter what defense you come out in. So if I go by what they're saying, what I'm reading right there, they're saying that if you come out in a cover 4, a cover 3, or a cover 2, whatever, it's going to be different. They might not line up to the outside. They might line up maybe to the inside a little bit or directly over top, which is great because while I love using strong close because it has unbumpable wide receivers, etc., hopefully what they can do is add a little bit of strategy into it where some plays are actually going to allow you to bump these receivers. So it's a little bit of a chess match, right? I mean, you could probably still base a line. You could probably still have a couple different defensive coverages where the guy's over top, but he's not bumping them. You can be in different, you really want to be able to disguise it. One of the biggest problems in Madden over the years is just the fact that it's hard to disguise what it is that you want to do. So let's just take last year, for example. Every time, you could disguise, right? You could be off coverage and you could have the same look every time, but the receivers were playing to the outside, so you really had no chance to bump a receiver. So if they gave you the ability to actually play over top and have not all the same types of defenses, but maybe like a cover, let's say a cover 2 and a cover 4 played over top of the receiver, at least it gives you a little bit of ability to disguise the defense that you're in, make your opponent have to make a little bit of a post-snap read, because one of the things about tight formations is if they're in man coverage or whatever, right, and it's a tight formation and they're playing to the outside, then as soon as you snap the ball, the defender jumps the hip pocket of the wide receiver, and you know automatically that it's man coverage. They essentially suction to the inside, determining man. So if there's a way to eliminate that, even though it'd be harder to, for a lot of players to be able to make reads and stuff in those formations, I mean, I'm all for that. So definitely big. Now, let's take a look at the screenshot again. So they've said that okay, so actually let's just talk about it here because actually I think they're going to talk about it. I thought I read this somewhere else. So playbooks and shot play. So working in concert with Madden NFL 16 Air Supremacy theme, we met with legendary coach Tom Moore. Tom Moore was the Detroit Lions head coach. No, wait, that's the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator. Sorry, I was thinking somebody different. To work on a new addition to our playbooks, authentic NFL shot plays. So in the real world, a shot play is primarily play action based and usually keeps backs and tight ends to block while receivers go deep. We've added more than 100 new shot plays, which is interesting, so essentially max protection plays, and 600 new plays overall, including team-specific shot plays in each team playbook. So if we go back here to, it's going to show max protect. So as you can see right there, basically you're max protecting. Now I read something, I'm not sure if it's going to talk about it here, where if you max protect or do things like that, you are susceptible to something a little bit different. Let's see if they talk about that. But I think a concern right now would be with the aggressive catch, just being able to call a play like this, max protect, throw the ball up, and do an aggressive catch with your wide receiver. That would probably be a big concern with a lot of people. We'll have to see. But let's go down and read a little bit more. So I don't know if they talk about it. Okay, so, oops. So in-game feedback system. So building off the success of Madden NFL 15's pass rush and tackling feedback, the team created a new feedback system around passing and catching. Pass feedback tells players if the pass was under pressure, on the run, or off the back foot in order to provide context as to why the pass came out the way it did. This is actually, this is big, okay? So I'm going to get into a little bit of detail. I know we're at 35 minutes right now, but I just want to go into as much detail as I possibly can. So when I used to do live lab sessions with people, or when I would teach people how to play, I would play against people and they'd be like, hey man, why do I suck? Like, what's my problem? And it's just that at the core of things, okay, like your most basic Madden player that really just doesn't, like, they want to get better, but they really just don't know what it is that they're doing wrong. A lot of the times, it really is just the positioning of the quarterback when they throw the ball. A lot of people will actually just throw off their back foot and do things like this, and they don't even realize it. Now, when it comes to drop picks, okay, I mean, it's in the game this year, and it was in the game, it's probably going to be in the game next year. The reason is because they don't want new kids or anything like that to want to, you know, just stop playing, right? They get in a game and they throw like 5 interceptions, especially when they, you know, they really did beef up defense, right? Like the way that defenders jump in Madden 15, they jump routes and stuff like that. They did beef that up. So if you could imagine, like, you know, some young guy getting in a game and he doesn't know how to throw routes, and you've seen games, right, where you just play bums that throw into coverage all time and you drop in like so many picks. I mean, their thought process is, we want to bail them out because we don't want them to quit, right? My thought is you need to teach them, well, just like raising a child. I know this is crazy, we're talking about Madden, but just like raising a child, okay, you need to teach them tough love. They need to learn, or else they're not going to learn at all, right? They're going to be sleeping in the same bed as you when they're 15. That's essentially what EA is doing. EA wants these kids to be sleeping in the same bed with them, you know, 5 years after they're playing the ball. They want to hold their hand. So doing something like this is a positive sign for the future. Teach people what they did wrong. Hopefully in the future they can do things like this and bring back interceptions at a good rate, okay? Teach people a lesson and make it so that they can teach them. This is what I've been, you know, really yelling for over the last couple years with the drop picks. Is you got to teach people how to do it, and that's what they're doing right here, showing them what it is that they're doing wrong when they're passing the ball. And that can go a long way. Hopefully in Madden 17, we'll probably see an elimination of Madden of drop picks, hopefully, with things like this, right? So once the pass has been released, the catch UI displays the catch that the AI is looking for. The user can override this choice at any time by tapping or holding down one of the 3 catch buttons. So that's interesting. And finally, after the catch is made, we will display the type of catch the receiver performed. Okay, so that's interesting. That's actually interesting. Okay, so maybe I'm going to take that bet offer back. This doesn't... Okay, so there's a guy on Operation Sports. I went and I read the blogs, okay? And there's a guy, JP Davis. He said that he played the game. He answered questions and stuff like that. And he said that these little things here were not in the game when he played. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't have put it in. They're tweaking all the time. But I just couldn't imagine that these things would be in the game. I couldn't imagine that. But after reading this, after the catch is made, The reason I didn't think that is because if we go all the way back up, there was another example here. See, the catch isn't made, see, and they're showing it. So this is the discrepancy that I'm facing. They say after the catch is made, they display it, but the catch hasn't been made and they're displaying it. So who really knows, right? I mean, sometimes this is why we got to get our hands on the game. We don't know these things. They say things and sometimes they can be a little deceiving. So, okay, so 40-minute video, crazy. Hold on, jeez. Okay, so additional offensive improvements. So the passing game isn't the only thing that got love. We added 2 mechanics to help move through the line as a ball carrier. The first is, and I just dread this, get skinny. Hold RB when running through the line, as well as context-sensitive cut step juke, like just hitting the left analog stick, left or right. Perform behind the line of scrimmage to cut off blocks. Now, I like the juke step. One thing I will say is in Madden 08, now I played Madden 08 on PC. I absolutely loved that game. I didn't really like console version of Madden back then, so I don't know exactly, because I played 08 like on console a little bit, but I mostly played on PC. One of the things I couldn't stand, now again, I'm not trying to like hurt anyone's feelings here, but for me as a higher level player, you know, I call people bums and stuff like that. And one of the most annoying things was so many of these bums, man, they would just use the get skinny thing to get through the line, and it was like, you could just do it so easy. You just like get skinny, and it was like so hard to stop, because once the animation was there, you couldn't do anything to stop him back then. You know, there was no way that you could hit the guy and stop him, and it was so stupid. So hopefully it's not the same way that it was before, because I know a lot of people are going to use that and it's going to be really difficult to stop. So ball carrier AI has been completely overhauled with new hit the hole logic, resulting in a real and tangible running game from the CPU. Something I personally don't care about. But they're saying that the CPU is going to use these things, unlike now where the CPU is just like they have no clue when they run the ball. Ball carrier locomotion and true step have also been revisited to ensure responsive controls that are still grounded in the realm of authenticity. So here we just get another little screenshot. And now the last thing here to close it all out is contextual awareness has been revisited with several new animations and much tighter registration with other players. New extra point rules are in, which is not a big deal. After scoring a touchdown, players can kick the extra point from the 15, and we all know that you can kick field goals from 60 yards, and it's easy as pie. Or attempt the 2-point conversion from the 2, which is the same. The only thing that's really nice about it is the new rules also allow the defense to score 2 points on returns. Penalties are fully supported on these plays, so teams can change their decision if a penalty occurs. So that is everything from the official EA blog on Air Supremacy. It was quite a long blog, which is great. I mean, the more information that we get, the better. You can treat this like a podcast. I just went on for 43 minutes. I mean, given my thoughts and opinions, if you care. But I think I provided some pretty good insight as to what I personally think about the game, each and everything that they explained. I hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like the video. If you really, really liked it, don't leave without giving a like. I really never ask for likes in any of my videos ever. But go ahead and hit the like button, especially if you made it this far and listened to the whole thing. Subscribe to the channel. We are going to try to get a lot more videos to you guys. I know we were a ghost town in Madden 15. We didn't do anything. But that's going to change in the future. So make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. And I'll see you guys soon. This is Mr. Smith from thegamerslab.com.